Hello and welcome to my channel. I'm MrTieDye, and today we're going to do another Halloween video since we're in the month of October. I've had lots of requests for more designs, so one of the ones did several years ago was the Scream mask. So I decided to go ahead and make a nice stencil for that. So we're going to tie that on this t-shirt. What I'm starting with here is the t-shirt's been soaked in soda ash. I've spun it out so it's just barely damp. And then I've also tucked one sleeve into the other here to center the T. So I have the center of the front of the T here and the center of the back of the T, because I'm going to tie this just on the front of the T. I do have a video, and I'll put it in the link down here in the description box. So that shows you how I just basically tuck one sleeve into the other and line up the shoulder seam and the bottom, and anyways, that separates the front from the back. So let's just go ahead and get started. So you can just draw your Scream thing on if you want it, or like I say, I made a stencil for myself so that I could get it drawn on accurately. So there is my Scream mask. We're going to leave this part white, of course dye these black, and then we'll dye the hood black, and then the rest of the T, I think I'm going to go with purple in that, and I'm going to put a purple and orange spider on the back of the T. So let's go ahead and get started folding this thing, and I'm going to tie this up with kite string. That's just my favorite thing to use for tying the designs up. I got a bit of slack in here. There we go. Anyways, the kite string is my favorite thing to tie with. So you can still use rubber bands or whatever you find easiest to work with. So basically what I'm going to do is just do an accordion fold around this outside line here for the face. And basically I'm just lining these up, so I'm taking this line that's down here on the shirt and just folding it straight up so that it matches up with the line here on the pleat. So there's the outer part of the face. We're going to tie that up with kite string. Now the next part is the eyeball here. I drew mine mostly oval. I know sometimes there's more of a jelly bean or kidney bean shape to this, but just for ease of folding, I did mine just kind of more oval. So basically what I'm going to do is fold this in half. I'm going to fold this in half right down the middle, and then just do an accordion fold. So I'm just kind of lining this up the best I can. I'm using the light from the window to kind of look to see if I have my lines lined up. And once you get that all lined up, then I'm going to do an accordion fold on this. I still do have a little bit of the curve shape in there, so it's not laying completely flat. So I'm going to just kind of fold this one up in my hand rather than try to lay it back down on the table. So I'm just doing the same accordion folds, just matching the lines up here on the top. And then if you kind of give that little bit of a pinch, if it's, like I say, folding it up damp is the best way because the creases are going to stay in. Sometimes I'll try to go ahead and remember to tie a little slip knot in this ahead of time, but I obviously forgot to do that. But if you tie a slip knot, then you can just slip that over top of your thing. I'm just going to fold these creases back in, line things back up, and then tighten that slip knot up. I'm going to fold the little nose piece up here. So I'm going to just do the same thing, kind of fold that in half lengthwise, and then since it's so small, it only takes just a couple little folds to do the nose. But now I have my slip knot ready. There's the face part, and now I'm going to go ahead and fold up this hood part here. I got the hood part folded. Let me tuck a couple. I had a couple of these bunch up on me. But as you can see, my hood didn't go perfectly straight with my line here. It's kind of curved. So what I'm going to do is draw that same line on the back side with that curved in there. So as long as you dye along the line that you drew, then you're still going to have that hood shape on there. So it's not exactly important to get your things to line up perfectly. Sometimes with the odd shape of the fabric you have to gather, it won't line up that way. And I can kind of see the line through here, but if you need to, you can hold this up to your window. But just get the kind of the same line drawn on there so that you dye it the same on the top and the bottom. Okay. So there's my screen mask, and now I'm going to do a spider on the back side here. So I already have the back of the tee folded in half and centered there. So I'm just going to pinch kind of right across from the armpit here. That'll put the spider right in the middle of the back. So I'm just going to pinch and twist that going down the tee. And I do have a few different videos on the spider in various colors, and I did it in different folds, but you can look up the spider on my channel and find a few different videos for it. And I'm not going to try and tie it all the way over. I just kind of went over as far as the sleeves here. So, and then the rest of it I'm just going to scrunch up. But this will put a purple and orange spider on the back of the tee here. Now, like I say, the rest of this I'm just going to scrunch up. So since I have these sleeves tucked up, poked up here in the middle between the front and the back designs, I got two different designs here. What I'm going to do is just kind of scrunch up the sleeves right into their own armhole here. The main thing you want to make sure of is that you don't pull your designs out. So I'm trying to kind of spread this out as much as I can to get this opening, and then I'm just going to scrunch the arms right up into their own armhole. There's a scream, there's a spider in the back, and then scrunched down the middle. So I'm going to get some gloves, so put some dye on this thing. Okay, we're back with some gloves. So what I'm going to do is I have just some plain water here. I'm going to add the plain water into the white areas here. And then I have just regular black dye. It's not thickened. I don't have any thickened water mixed up, and I wanted to get to this video today, so I'm just going to use just regular black dye. That's how I used to do it back in the day. So, and I'll show you how I kind of make sure it doesn't run too much. But basically what I'm going to do is the sections here, dye the face here white, these black. I'm going to dye the hood black, and then I'm going to go in and dye this whole side purple. The bottom side I'm going to dye the same way, and then I'm going to dye orange in this area here so that I have a purple and orange spider, and the rest of the tee is going to be in purple. And then I'll probably put just a little bit of black over top just to darken that purple up some. So anyways, we're going to go into a little fast forward. Well, let me dye the sections here first. Let me zoom in just a little bit. Okay, so like I say, with my regular black dye, I usually try to tip the bottle just very, even with the little small ones here. And these are the 4-ounce bottles I get off of Amazon. There is a link below if you want to purchase some of these. But I still like to tip it just barely so that just a little bit of dye comes out at a time here. And on this small section, you don't need a whole bunch of dye. But once I get it kind of saturated there, then I take a clean dry rag and I just wrap it around the dyed area and just give it a little pinch. That squeezes the dye in, but it also soaks up the excess black dye so that that's not spreading around anymore. So, and then I say I do that same thing with the bigger sections here. And with the bigger sections, I leave just a little bit of a white gap between the line and where I dye at. Because when you squeeze it, the dye does move some, and this way it's going to move to just fill up the rest of that space. So I pinch it and squeeze it, and then if I need to, I can touch up just a little bit more right by that line. But sometimes I'll squeeze it and it'll fill up all of that space. And that's how you are able to work with this, just the regular dye. The main thing is when you're using the clean dry rag, I can kind of see the black on there. So I'm just using a clean spot each time to wrap around and just pinch that and squeeze it. And then that way that black dye is not going to spread around. So we're going to do this one last section here. Now, just as an extra precaution, I'm going to use just plain water and kind of add a little bit of water around those areas just to make sure that none of that black dye wants to seep out. And I'm going to bring it right up to this line here too, because I'm getting ready to dye this section. Because the dry fabric will attract liquid. Well, I'm just going to get a new rag out here. I'm just going to lay this whole thing right onto a rag, and that way I can dye this here and then I can squish some of that excess dye out. Once again, I'm going to start back from the line, probably about an inch on both sides. And that'll let the dye kind of spread a little bit on its own before I press on it. Okay, and the other thing, when you're flipping it over, you want to make sure that your eyeball doesn't flip over and land straight on your face. So I'm kind of holding it out this way so that I know exactly where that eyeball is. Okay, now for this section here, I'm going to make sure that I put the dye on lightly because I don't want it to soak completely through, because I want to put orange on the bottom side there. And then on this part of the purple here, I'm going to add just a little bit of black. And I left just a little bit of a gap here so that I'll have a little bit of purple around the hood, and then I'll have black and purple. So now once again I'm going to flip this. And making sure that eyeball doesn't flip over. So I'm laying that down carefully there. I'm going to add a little bit of black again once to this body part, leaving just a little bit of space between the hood so that I have a purple outline around the hood there. There is the screen mask, and I'm going to batch it with the orange side up just to make sure that the purple doesn't seep in. If I have a color seeping, I'd rather have the orange seeping down into the purple. It's less likely to have brown than if it went the other direction. So, and then, like I say, I already have white on here, and I'm going to make sure, once again, when I place this in my tub, that this, here, let me use the other finger, that this eyeball right here doesn't flop under and put a big black mark on the face. So, I will have the results for you in about 2 seconds. Thank you for watching. Good morning and welcome to Hippie Christmas. So we got our screen mask here. It looks like I still had some dye bleeding from here. I should have soaked up a little bit more of that excess dye before I put it into batch. But this here might just create some interesting texture on the face here. So let's get this thing opened up. Alrighty, let's open it up. So there's the screen mask, and then we get our purple and orange spider on the back. So I'll get this washed and posted later.